Welcome to FYI.
Welcome,
Good
welcome,
morning.
welcome. Welcome, everybody.
For your information, I am
We
Georgina
outside.
alongside Sherry Duncan this morning.
Inside but outside.
Guys, it is Thursday, the 4th of August,
Yes, it is.
2022. You know how
Yes, it
far
is.
along we've come. I told you to keep that
Yeah,
checklist
yeah.
up to
Please
date.
do, please do,
Make
please
sure
do.
that you keep checking off the things that you need to get
Yeah,
done. The year is going to
yeah.
be out in a jiffy, like that.
Just
That's
like
how
that.
it's happening. That's how it's happening.
Just like
We gotta
that.
be quick.
Yeah.
I see Beatrice
Be quick to
on.
share as well.
I see Beatrice there. You're waiting.
Beaches don't waste time at all. And Siobhan McDonald, the first two, we've seen comments from.
Siobhan, how are you this morning?
We've seen the numbers going up. Share the live, folks.
Siobhan, no wait. Siobhan said it's 75 degrees outside. Guys,
Is that good or bad way? Let us know.
we should ask how you feel about that, Siobhan. How do you feel about that? What is going on at your end?
Do let us know. Do let us know. Fantastic day to be outside. Fairly good weather where we are. Yep.
Well, I know I woke up with rain. So this morning it was raining.
Fairly good weather where we are.
Yeah. I don't know about Sharon, but I woke up to rain.
Fairly good weather.
Good morning to all the folks that are joining us through the other platforms that we just went through too.
Correct.
I know that you have been waiting anxiously for
so happy that you guys are here with us.
Stan Bourne, how are you this morning? And Beryl Crawford, how are you doing?
And that's the better where we are. That's the better where we are.
Claire Alexis Richmond, Sharon is going to do the third name for me.
Yeah. Chamley, believe it or not, just Chamley. Chamley. The pronunciation is Chamley. Even though it's so long, it's just Chamley.
You serious?
Yeah. You could say Chamali.
I deal with the numbers. I deal with the numbers. I'm going to leave Sharon with
language. Sanborn, don't say 40. That's a good age. Many years ago,
I see Ingrid Crawford in the house.
Ingrid, how are you doing, man? How are you all doing?
About this morning.
Lovely and beautiful. Happy that you folks are here with us.
Good morning to you.
And let us know if you're hearing our audio good. Please let us know that.
Yes. I think they would tell us right away.
Siobhan says great weather. Lovely. We're happy. We're happy. Yep. Even if the weather outside.
We're large and in charge.
Isn't
one of the comments says.
Let the weather inside be good.
What is the weather inside?
Right?
A little slow.
No, like it's how you feel. It could be a stormy weather, it could be raining, but you feel upbeat and so on.
You would never know. Believe it or not, you would never know if I'm having a horrible day. I just come
outside singing in the rain.
What do you do if you're not feeling okay? Pretend.
Yeah.
According to your groggery.
So where we are expecting some thunderstorms during the course of the morning. That's what the folks are telling us. Weather.com is where we pick up all this information from. It gets better as the day proceeds. But and as soon as I saw this earlier, it started to rain.
Serious?
Yeah, weather.com is it. Credible, valid weather information. Weather.com is it.
Sun is
Rishi Prasad, how you doing? Rishi said you want a Venezuelan prostitute. Yeah. To each his own. Don't cross the bridge till you cross it.
I'm missing this thing with that. I'm missing something. I know I'm missing something. I went on social media and I saw some comments. I wasn't able to follow up.
Don't knock these things till don't cross these bridges till until you cross them. We can fill you in, don't worry.
Cross the bridge.
You don't worry, we can fix you up.
You haven't crossed yet.
We can fix you up. So a lot of things happening. Marlene DeYoung is here. Louisa Wills and so on. I always love the name Louisa from since
Like your age on stage, Sharon.
What do you call it? That epic film we used to watch every year, man.
What is that?
Song of Music. One of the daughters' name was Louisa, Brigitta, Louisa. Yeah, that's a nice name. Louisa, Some films you must see in your life. Song of Music is one of them.
I watched Sound of Music. I love
another one of them.
But when I watched the Sound of Music, the only thing I was super interested in the fact that the age of the girl that went to the nun that went to live with him, she was super young.
Julie Andrews,
she was super young.
Yeah. I think I told her how long you want to be about house?
She was super young. I don't know how I feel about it.
Itself.
I don't know how I feel.
You better go and bring in money.
There's a lot of these things. Like even the children cartoons, and so they portray this big love fear. And then when you look at the actual age, you just out.
Yeah.
Glove
you know what you're doing yet.
Like what's going on? What's going on?
You know what I love to see? I love to see like these young people, either in high school or they're just out, and they're so in love, and I want to know how to tell them.
Don't burst the bubble.
Should I
Leave
tell
them.
them? Should
Leave them. No, leave them. Leave them.
Should I tell them? Should we tell them? Marlene says yes. The song, the music. You gotta watch that one. There's another one I'm trying to remember, guys. I know some of us big and we got we age. Was this white girl? But she didn't know the maid in the house was her mother, who was a black woman. Epic film.
Imitation of
Imitation of life. Imitation of life.
Come on, Sharon.
I'm seeing the name right there.
I know.
Imitation. There's a girl.
Imitation
There's
of
a
life.
girl. Your things.
Yeah.
Epic film. You must see that film at least once in your life.
You have to.
Epic film. Yeah. Put on your list. Imitation of life.
We
Fantastic.
have to own. I say it all the time. We have to own who we are.
I'm gonna lose you now. One of my real favorite. This is a period film and really epic, right? Lion in Winter, Peter O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn.
What is the name of it?
The Lion in Winter.
I'm lost.
It surrounds the reign of Henry VIII. Really, and you have two good actors. You have two good actors in Peter O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn. Epic film. Amanda's is coming in, and we're talking about some of the films you must see before you. I ain't talking about Rambo and Die Hard. Those are good films too. Die Hard Part 1. Die Hard Part 1 never gets old.
You differentiate?
Right?
I don't differentiate.
Never gets old. Quite like Matrix Part 1. Never gets old. All the other Matrix little thing for me, but Matrix Part 1 never gets old. Matrix Part 1 redefined lots of what you do in terms of action movies in the film industry. And so on. But To Serve With Love, I like that. Marlene knows she thinks, man. Marlene is a girl, she thinks. To Serve With Love is another one.
Really
Loretta Edwards said that too. To Serve With Love is another one. Must at least once in your life. Once in your life, must see.
There's a lot of good ones in movies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm not.
You see, Marvin Nelson says The Lion in Winter is a great movie. Fantastic. I've seen The Lion in Winter like 5,000 times. I know every word, every line. And you see, every time I watch it, I see something different. I hear something. I don't know if it's a slow learner or it's the Alzheimer's giving in early. It's what? But I see something new. I see something different.
Another one, White Roses for my black sister.
I gotta put some things down now on my list. Facebook used to say Galilee's Rambo. What's that the crap? Different. Some of you are different. Galilee's Rambo. Ayabo, good to see you. While we got Rambo, we have Ayabo. We can settle for that. Marlene and Amabel Clement and all. Some movies you must watch. And this is how we bring up our kids, And lots of times we are learning by default. We like great movies because that's what we grew up seeing in the house. We like good music because that's what we grew up seeing in the house. And it's interesting how we're influenced, because I always loved Miles Davis. And then I was introduced very by default, in a way, into Miles Davis, The Old Man's Gone. I think that's the name of it, by Nigel Hughes, who was writing a comment about the passing of a legal luminary. And that's one day, and I went and I checked it up, and this is a great piece of jazz music. And I fallen in love with it since then, and fallen in love with Miles Davis even more. Good music, good books, good film, and you can't go wrong. A fellow who used to be my mentor years ago, he's passed on now. He said he thinks he has lived a fuller life than most people, simply because he's read widely, read good books. He introduced me to writers like Willa Cather, who's an English writer. John Le Carre was one of the inspirations for me naming my son John. And lots of other epic writers. You got, he introduced me to a Guyanese writer, Pauline Melville, Ventriloquist Tale, and some other novels there. Fantastic. You read good books, listen to good music, you travel a little bit, watch some good films and so on. And you got to go. You got to go. But enough of that.
Don't worry, Shard lost me with The Lion.
The Lion in Winter. Fantastic movie.
She lost me there.
Fantastic movie.
I have to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Matthew says that Sharon's no soul. That's what he said. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Also
Epic film.
Sharon.
Epic film.
Hey, Clifton Smith, how you doing this morning? What is going on?
Or Don Cook here and all the other folks. Well, once the cook is in the house, everybody go show up. Clifton Smith and Sharon Alfonso Evans.
I see
Welcome, folks.
Joining us very early.
Who? Point them out for me.
The proper people. The best song in the country.
Marlene says, a warm diciembre.
Oh my goodness.
Marlene, she's Spanish too. She even getting the accent right. It's fantastic. Fantastic. You know, they say, and I think it's something to live by. You are the sum total of the people you hang out with. You know, your 5 closest people, you're the sum total of that. And I would advise people, you know, hang out with good people. I'm happy I hang out with people who
I don't know if I have 5 closest people.
I got 5,000 social media right now. I got 500 and something.
No, but that's different. I'm talking about really hanging out, like, because there's your family, and besides your family, I probably have
Facebook user different, you know.
2 or 3 persons.
Facebook user say you need a line in freedom house.
I agree. My goodness, you could not be more correct this
morning. You need a line in freedom house, and don't forget. Like the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, they got close the door. Like the Red Wedding, you know. That's my favorite episode of Game of Thrones.
The Red Wedding.
The Red Wedding. Close the door.
That's how you got to deal with some of them, indeed.
And you know, if you watch a lot of it, you know, I can't remember the character name in Game of Thrones. She used to say, hold on. It's hold the door. In one of the episodes, they were tracing back. They were showing you where he got this thing from.
What it is.
It was a traumatic experience in his life. Probably was a Red Wedding. So, hold the door. Hold the door. Where you lose the lion. Close the door.
It's interesting to look at things like that Game of Thrones and quest for power. And how it drives up people insane. And they actually,
that's why some of them running out for me. So you hear saying guys to go boardroom, Venezuelan prostitute and all that. I want them helping with the sugar. It's them got with this problem. Sabotage, you know.
It's different.
Says no lot of things. Right? Says no lot of things. He turned their sugar. He should get his own show. He know about
I wanted
sugar being smuggled. You know what Venezuelan prostitute?
I know. I wanted
everything out the hand.
I just wanted video, but I think that
everything on the hand.
On the cake.
Says the right thing. No, everything on the hand. You know, it's different over there by guys talk about it. That they should have their own series. That's like a reality TV, right? We ain't got no shortage. My parents go to the shop. You go and get a pack of sugar. There's no shortage, folks.
Keeping up with guys Suko.
When I listened to Says yesterday, I said sugar done.
I said it.
Say sugar done.
You know, at our rally, I think I said it best at the rally. You know, some things just come to you. I think I said it best at the rally. But how the people operate sugar, and they came in and they operated as though they're the Undertaker.
Yeah. They were the underdogs. It's the Undertaker. Folks, if you all know what we're talking about, because we can explain it. But there's a leaked audio of the last board meeting at Gaisuko where
how was that a board meeting?
where the vice chairman of the board, Tony Vera, ended up resigning because he felt the leadership of management of Gaisuko is so poor and so lacking. He couldn't take it anymore. When you listen to the audio, he's justified.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He is absolutely justified. You know, it's corruptionism. They're trying to buy some tractors that are not suited for us here at all. And, you know, the board is trying to take a decision on that. But no, like, say he's got some friends someplace selling tractor. Something like that.
Oh,
and
wow.
he is very, very hell-bound that
but
he must
you
get
remember,
those tractors.
You know what I remember just recently? That when in 2020, when the people took office, in 2020, CES was put in charge of a body that said they were going around to do these audits. To see what happened to the taxpayers' dollars, how monies were spent, and so you know, I don't think he's doing an answer of what's going on.
But what struck me,
he forgot those talents.
The point I wanted to make before I add to that is that the entire audio is on my Facebook page. We posted the entire audio on my Facebook page. It's interesting to listen. 60 minutes of confusion powder chased with some bucketry.
It's difficult.
It's very difficult. But it says where we are. It says it's a hypocrite, right? It's a hypocrite, and you know what?
Well, we knew this, but now you have some evidence.
I give him a month. I give him a month. I give him a month.
I mean, it's a month. I think Sis is right at the top. He's scoring all the right points right
Yeah,
about
yeah,
now
yeah.
for the
Yeah.
administration.
Them boys say they can make sugar great again. Well, how we doing?
Undertaker says.
Undertaker says he got the looks too. Got the looks. Warren Figueroa from Long Island. Good to see you, Warren. Candidly in the jeet all the way from the Independent Republic of Skeldon. Candy says she's having her coffee without sugar, and she right in the sugar belt. You know, a man say come late, come take some cold tea. We got some cold tea between your chest here. You come welcome this place. Did Rocco come in? Rocco come in, man, sir. Please and thank you. A man says coming through. Rocco come in. I'm gonna switch. Got some cold tea for between your chest. Amansa, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Good to have you. You see the young ones, it's wake up late. The old ones is now for rise early.
When you said you see the young ones, I wanted to say
wake up
present.
at 5.
You see the young ones present, sir.
Oh, brother.
No shame in this game.
No.
Look who is joining us. Just want to make sure she's proportioned right. I mean, like to the camera. She's proportioned well, but in relation to the camera, you want to make sure she's set it right. Right? Yeah.
No, it's turning out to be
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of those mornings.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's either you're very tired and so you wake up late, or you're pregnant.
You know what the funniest thing?
You're pregnant with Alias.
No, but you can't, like, I can't sleep past a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have to sleep
Yeah,
at 5,
yeah.
between 5 and 5:50.
Yeah.
The day is just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you see you're a mother and you get up at 5,
Yeah.
you want to know where the time went.
Yes,
Steal my tea,
absolutely.
By the time you're done trying to get breakfast and trying to force young people out of bed.
Yeah. Let us know if you're hearing Amanda clearly too. Let's know if you're hearing Amanda clearly. We may have another guest. We just might. The more the merrier. The more the merrier. We want to see one or two of you guys too when you are passing through. Let us know. Right? Nothing weird said though. You don't have breakfast with some weird people talking weird stuff. Right? But it's good to have you folks here. Lennox and all the other folks. Treat you very this morning.
I am at the point that I have to
Guys, you
mention.
go.
No, I have to mention something. Listen,
Things.
I'm off track this morning, but keep
Uh-huh.
in mind with me, we could do whatever we want. This is not their show.
Yeah.
It's our show.
We take the time, we go fast, we go slow.
Guys, listen, someone called me and they said something very interesting to me because they're like, they saw all this conversation about handshakes and so it's like, but Teresa, when we see a position representative looking chummy or even taking a picture with these people, we say, oh my God, I know, traitor.
Interesting analogy. Go on. Go on.
If you don't shake the hand, what's so big with a handshake? They said, I think the coalition support is a tough bunch.
Yeah.
They're a tough bunch.
Yeah.
Please. Now I'm going through some of the comments there, and I
So which morning, respect and manners.
I remember because
one of
the person's commented there actually was one that was telling me that. So I just saw the comment.
Oh,
and
yes.
I just reflected on that.
Peter Sills, you can't please people,
No, so I don't. You guys, you're
That's
tough
why it just
bunch.
gotta be you. Just
you're
gotta be
a
you.
tough bunch, but we here. We in this.
The way it gotta be. Just gotta be you. And
we love you just like that. Just as tough.
Right?
Yes. So I know oneself be true. That's Shakespeare, right? Shakespeare. We got
I don't like when Shark comments.
President's College and Queens right here. I just went Ishmael. I hope I get bright just I'm sitting next to these girls. Yeah. But the good book says truth on the inward part. So you have to do, but if you're following a compass in the inside, you can lead you right. Most times it leads you right. Maxine, technician Maxine is on the job. Malush is doing something well. Good. Good to go. Guys, share the live. Smash that emoji button. Partner with us. We have to have you guys here.
Simone's comments.
Yeah. You know, it's when the millions be the best part of the sandwich, right? Any bread would do, but if it's any bread.
She literally just said any bread.
Any bread.
Yeah. These days you can't afford the bread, so you know.
I see Candace Ryan is in the house this
Yeah,
morning. Here,
yeah,
Candace, how
yeah.
are you?
I'm still seeing Candace brightness from
I'm telling you, it's a different
Monday,
level, right?
Tuesday night.
I think it's not just her appearance. She has
She has
the
a glow.
sparkling
Yes.
personality to go
Yeah.
with it.
Yes. Candace was like when Course first come, you had to put on your shades in London Street. The whole corner light up with shocking yellow. Shocking, yeah, yellow. Put on your shades when you go London Street. Yeah. There's that too. There's that too. We've been very slothful with that bill. With that that legislation. Well, that bill. Well, bill. Yeah. That bill. And lots of places are moving ahead of us. Right, moving ahead of us, and they steal the bill from we. They don't want us to be great. They want me to be great. We can do it. 1 year later, the party didn't select committee. That's the graveyard. Oh yes.
Oh yes. Candy, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
I want your wallet
hand.
and your purse filled too.
I don't think it's your eye. I think people when they actually saw photos with Candy.
Yeah. They realize.
No.
And this is a girl with your things. Come outside. Guys, good to see you, Diane, and so on, Anna Phillips, and all the other guys. Where are you joining us from this morning? Banza. Rita, where are we? In the morning paper.
In the morning paper. In the morning paper.
Yeah, tell
we
us.
have to go straight through, guys.
Tell
you know,
us.
the first thing that we're looking at this morning is the BB and the City Refund Job Finance.
Oh, that's a story and a half.
Uncontroversial land sale. You know, company says no
That's a
longer
story and a
part
half.
of any deal.
They said it the last time. Too. They said it the last time.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Corruptionism. Said it the last
You
time.
know, how do you say it one time, then you
Yeah,
went on with
yeah.
the same thing. Now you're saying the same thing that you're no longer interested.
And there's a third company that appeared out of nowhere, so they might not be interested, and they said they sold the rights to the third company. Right? Interesting.
We have to monitor.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned that a lot of these lands are, ancestral land brought by descendants, brought by slaves, passed down to their descendants. I think it's very important that we look at,
Go ahead, guys. I'm gonna slip off a second.
and titling as much as
Right ahead.
regularizing
I like
and
Absalom.
titling those lands so that they're protected. It's very important, and I think we can also look at it in the context of. You remember Irfan was in a particular place and had a difficulty paying reparatives.
Yeah.
And coaching it in the context of reparation in the reparative justice. It'll be interested to see how that goes.
We have a very long way to go when it comes to all of what is going on. And we have to, and I always say, the sad part is the most vulnerable in society are the ones that are exposed to these things, and it's wrong that we have a government in place that, and we've said it so many times, they're transactional in everything that they do, and because of that, the most vulnerable always have the end of
they are the disadvantaged, absolutely,
and the whatever end of the stick. So that's how it is, and we have those issues. Only yesterday I received a call concerning another set of land issues, and the co-op systems right now, and the way in which co-ops are being treated. I think that the administration is on a mission to gut all the co-ops of any real power and decision making. Right now, they have gone on a mission. They're traveling throughout the countries. Like, they have a list of all the co-op, and they're going to go one by one and make sure that they break them down and tear them down. So we have to continue to monitor that situation very carefully.
No, it's not a but. And it's interesting that we should know why that is so. Because it's almost as if because it is a construct of the Forbes Burnham. We are the Cooperative Republic of Guyana for a reason. And that is because in becoming a republic, the emphasis was on the power of cooperativism, of working together. We were the first cooperative republic ever in the world. And that was because Burnham thought that it was important that the village movement and people pooling their resources together would be a key aspect of development. Now, if you look at cooperatives, that is exactly what they do. They ensure a particular level of economic autonomy at a local level. And it is the antithesis of what the PPP stands for. They like to create dependence. They love to centralize everything so that when they centralize it, they can control it. So yes, they will go about destroying any co-op that they do control, but it's important that people understand the method and the psychology.
So folks, we have another guest. We have another guest joining us. We're mixing things up this morning. We're mixing things up this morning, so you all forgive us for a second. We're just gonna move things around for just a second. But our mics are still hot. Our mics are still hot.
Mics are hot,
and
folks.
we want you guys to be very. We have a surprise. Icing on the cakes. We're gonna shift things around. Like, here's some songs. Forgive us.
No mind.
Yeah. We're gonna shift things up for just a little bit, and we're gonna get. Yep.
So we're gonna get going, but you know, guys,
2 seconds are we gonna be
very interesting in here this morning because this person is somebody who knows
a lot.
Knows onions.
Onions and garlic.
this young person.
This an onion nowhere.
It's good to sit down between you.
Wow,
nice.
You see, I love it. I love it.
Y'all know who it is from the song The That Boy.
Yep.
Sucking the energy.
Yeah.
Sucking the youthful energy.
See, you look well. You look very, very well.
All the moderation, energy. Not that type of moderation, guys. You know that.
The good kind.
The good kind.
The good kind.
Not the skank kind.
All right, we're just gonna make sure that we shift things up a little bit so everybody comfortable, and then we're gonna be back with you guys.
We're good.
Yes.
Yeah. So wherever you're joining us from, a very good morning to you guys. We want to make sure that we are looking good when we come back to you. So we need to shift things up around.
We have a perfectionist in our
Make
in
sure
the
we're looking.
background right now.
We gotta represent, you know.
You have no
Apologies, or I have no apologies. We gotta make sure. Yeah, 1 second, Majesty. Majesty, 1 second. Make sure you have enough.
But you know, we were just talking about that issue of the cooperatives and how
Yes.
they're systemically gutting, you know, these cooperatives. As a little girl, I grew up understanding how important the cooperative was in terms of even delivering things like your basic ration items at the end of the month. Very, very important for local development, but you know, like we said, the PPPC is not interested in anybody or any locality being able to self-determine. It's about centralism and control. But we'll see how it's going.
All right. So let's start things the proper way. First and foremost, because a man will go right in, he might do a better job at the introduction than I can. But look what we have with us here today, folks. One and only. It's a big breakfast table. Happy birthday to the former Minister of Finance, Winston Jordan.
Happy
I'm
birthday,
so happy.
Mr. Jordan.
That is how the morning is starting. Yeah.
And there's no better way to start your morning than being here with the people that love you so dearly.
Thank
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Well.
I'm a senior citizen today.
Wow.
I want to thank the FYI family and all the good people out there who have stood by me through the years. This particular board is a special one because it's a force without my mother, who died on February 15th. Unfortunately, helped along that way by what happened to me on December the 2nd last year. So I want to dedicate this 65th to my mom, who before dawn would call me. She wanted to always be the first to call me to wish me happy birthday.
Love that.
So I heard her this morning. I woke up early and I said, "Thank you, Mom."
Happy birthday. Happy
You know,
birthday.
guys, this is somebody that we as young MPs can always call in the middle of the day, at night. Minister Jordan, what do you think about this? And he has always been so supportive, always happy to share his knowledge. He's one of those people who believe that you must share your knowledge and you must mentor. And we want you to know that we love you and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you very much.
And happy birthday to you.
Thank you very
So
much.
happy to have you. So happy, sir.
I think
Sheridan again, okay,
Mrs. Jordan is Mrs. Jordan in his own right. He's an icon in his own right because, and I speak about it all the time. It so happens that I have to speak on finance. So it is amazing to say the least to look at what is going on now. The reports that are coming out right now versus the Ministry of Finance, Bank of Guyana, and those reports, and then compare to the period in which you managed, and the stark difference that you will see, especially when it comes to things like the big thing right now, inflation. You made it seem effortless to keep inflation rate down.
I like the language, but it took a lot of hard work, extremely hard work.
But you need to coach people.
Managing an economy is not managing a cake shop. And you have so many different interests, conflicting and competing interests, and it's trying to bring all those to some level. If we achieve the highest levels, then fantastic. I don't think in a divided society like ours we will ever achieve that. But you want to achieve what is called a comfort level, and I believe that in those 5 years, notwithstanding the pressures, enormous pressures that were put on us by certain elements in the society, we were still able to produce the goods. And I dare anyone to use metrics as opposed to propaganda to measure our performance and compare it with any past or present situation. Lots of money circling around now, and they don't even know what to do with the money.
The direction of the money. The direction of the money.
That's the challenge. As a lay person, much, and even Ali admitted this at a recent conference they have more money now than ever before in the history of our country. They have the full apparatus of state at their disposal. Why is it so difficult, and why are so many people finding it hard to cope in this economy?
Well, it calls for governance. I go back to no matter how much money you have, if you don't have proper governance, that's it. Nigeria has tons of money, or had tons of money. Ghana had tons of money. Look where they are today in IMF programs. I think Ghana is now on its 9th IMF program. I mean, a global oil producer. Its national currency is called CED, I think it is, plunging by the day. Nigerian naira, same thing, plunging by the day. Poor management, poor governance, and it's unfortunate. That's the same thing we are heading here towards. People say you sound bitter. Who, me? I'm not a politician. I am a professional, so I can't be bitter about not being a politician or anything. What I'm saying, I'm a patriot and a nationalist, and I've proven that over the years being here while others went off and had their glory and their monies and so forth, and running back now like knights in shining armor as if they come to save the economy. I've been here all the time. And I've proven my worth in all different fields, private, public, government, whatever the case may be. And so I know what I'm saying. I've been there, done that, And if we can only unite as a people, we don't want to dominate anybody, but we also don't want to be dominated. So bring us all at this round table like we are here today, 4 good folks of different age groups, and let's talk. That's what our indigenous people used to do. Used to convene meetings in the under the little benabs and so on, and they will trash it out, and we will get up afterwards and we go implement. That is what we want here. We don't want 33 being equal to 100, and and all this kinds of thing, and then you throwing handouts at us, reminding us of slavery, when the master used to be throwing a little bit here and a little bit there to you, and then dividing us, bringing some as house slaves, bringing them into the house, the big house, so that they could eat off the master's table, and they could look out and wear some of the master's hand-me-down clothes, and they look out on the veranda at those who were beating the sun in the fields.
How are you supposed to be glorious? How do you rejoice that? That's the whole question.
This is one of that was one of the thoughts that I was really going over in my mind this past emancipation, because to me what you were seeing is I'll use the description plantocracy in a different guise. And it is something that we have to guard against. The other point comes back to what Mr. Jordan was making, is that there is almost a drunkenness on the amount of money that is awash in the economy right now. When what we really need is just sober, sound leadership. Like, now is the time.
Now is the time.
People always say when things are going good for you, then is the time that you have to be the most careful. It is almost as if Guyana needs just sober, temperate people now, and we do not have those people at the helm. You have people throwing money, stuffing envelopes with money to hand out. And when you talk about it, the propaganda from the other side is so much that people think that you have a problem with this. How can you have a problem with people getting relief?
I have.
Just can.
Let me finish making the point. The issue that we have is that the method allows for more of our patrimony to be stolen, because everybody knows cash-based transactions are susceptible to corruption. And so, the wastage and the leakage will be so much. I worry about.
All right, I want to beg us to save some of the conversation for the big issue. Let's get through a couple of things quickly. We get to the big issue, and then we talk some economics, because
we're not going to be
and lots of what we got on lots of what's brewing this morning has to do with economics, and I really wanted Minister Jordan's take on it. Let's start with some international stuff first, as we hear. Y'all know how we do things here, and so this is some of the stuff we're tracking this morning. Nancy Pelosi is visiting Taiwan, and we're familiar with Taiwan. very much visited. Spoke to the parliament there, and visited a couple places too. And China is now, saber rattling in that region, right? It remains to be seen how far this goes, but they were firing some missiles and so on, according to some of the reports we're picking up. And so we're monitoring what's happening in the international, because all of these things affect us at the end of the day, because we're in this global village and we're so interconnected, as we talk about China in this regard, it's interesting, Mr. Jordan, to see what's happening here. You had Sugate and, the Chinese influence and all of that. Between every street, you see now 2 and 3 big supermarket, Chinese supermarket. You wonder what's happening here. What's this framework? What's this architecture going up here? Maybe you can help walk us through some of these issues.
Well, even while I was in cabinet and even before, I tended to indicate that, look, you have to treat with the small things before you can treat with the big things. It's bottom up approach, not top down. The top down is building 2, 3 skyscrapers and call it development, right? While people wallow in poverty and or near poverty. I own this morning when I woke up, I was remembering when I moved into South Rhine Belt in January 1981. I used to get water on the top. Well, houses built on stilts. So you used to get water in the bathroom throughout the day. Upstairs, I'm not talking downstairs, upstairs. Today you're struggling with pump. Pump every 2 minutes, the pump gone. The pump left you while you're bathing, the pump stopped working. Fighting out to get off soap off your skin. And you got so much more compared January 1981. Really bad times. Some of you guys probably weren't born as yet. And I could tell you, really, really bad times. Really, really. Where you used to live there in the plaza. That was built since the 70s. Since the 70s.
And by the Canadians.
And then, of course, it was ahead of its time. So it petered out. It didn't serve the purpose that it was. We didn't have the kind of transportation that we have today. So that most people worked and still work in central Georgetown. So when you were able to catch any kind of transportation and you live in South, you're not going to stop at the South Randall Chaplain Plaza, going there by and hope to catch a transportation to go, if you live deep
For
into
the
South and so
range,
on. So people will buy in Central Georgetown, and whatever transfers they catch,
They go straight
they go
home.
straight home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the mall was misconceived. It was ahead of its time, and therefore it failed. And so that they turn it now into housing. As such. So that's part of the history that we.
Correct.
But it's the kind of
so.
thinking that we had back in the day. You wish to see, more of that thinking, rather than you wake up today, you hear a hospital being built in
Good for
Ogle,
yeah.
hospital being built in Ogle, right? Good idea. In fact, we had the same idea on Bamiyat, even though they didn't mention it, but the man from Austria did mention that we signed the MOE since 2018. Right? So, and so on. But no one is telling you how this hospital, when it's finished building, because everything is transformational and everything is modern and this and that and equipment is, no one is telling you, A, how we going to maintain the facility, B, how we going to operate the facility. Nurses are going, where the nurses are going to come from? You're going to import them. If you import nurses, you will never be able to pay them the same salary that you're paying local nurses. Therefore, if you are committed to paying imported nurses these fantastic salaries, well, you can't pay the local nurses. You got the money. Yeah. You need specialist doctors. You need specialists to read MRI and so on. You don't take nobody who just come out of university to go read an MRI. You need specialist training. It's just like you don't take a doctor who just graduated to go and operate by himself and so on. You need to step up. All of that, where is that training taking place? And where is the system to allow those people to stay when you train them? Okay? You got 7 regional hospitals, is it? 6 more regional hospitals in addition to the existing hospitals that you have. More pressure on the system. Where is the training happening? Where is the system that will allow those places? We have seen health centers. People leave the health center and come straight to Georgetown. That is why Georgetown public hospitals are always crowded.
No, but they don't have, but they don't even have a choice, because it's interesting that you said the additional hospitals, so they build. My issue is you can't convince me of the necessity to have a new hospital when the current facilities are not being maintained efficiently, and that's my problem there, and that's what's happening with the health centers too. They don't have the proper equipment and so they basically have to send persons down to the Georgetown Public Hospital to get things done. You go to Georgia, a simple thing, and we're going to give this example because it's very real out there. Someone go to the health center and they want to do an x-ray. Now they have to go to the Georgetown. When they get to the Georgetown Public Hospital now, they can't print the x-ray to take it back. They have to have the expert there read it, because the Georgetown Public Hospital is not printing x-rays anymore. The printer ain't working. So the expert now have to read it. It's being pulled up on the screen. They have to read it now and then write up something there for you to come back to the health center. Well, that's what's going on right now. Right now. Right, with all of that, then you're going to tell me that how you have the capacity to go and maintain all the facilities. That all makes sense.
And there's another thing happening in the health centers, and Mr. Jordan, we still in China. But as
so much to talk about there.
But as we're in that, somebody was telling me, and I told the viewers last week that she went to a clinic, and she saw a group of persons sitting there in what's supposed to be the waiting area.
Right.
And so she joined the batch and she was holding on to. So one of them said, I was asking her, ma'am, why are you here? She said, well, go right ahead. We're staff.
Exactly.
Right? These are the part-time people who got nothing to do with the clinic. They're sending the one clinic at 30 part-time persons. Usually those clinics got like 5 or so on. Five staff, 10 the most. You add 30, they got no place to sit. So they're sitting in the waiting area. She thought it was patients waiting.
Oh my.
Right.
So I mean, just quickly on that one, because we're going to time.
Wow.
So we when you look, labor productivity is measured by output divided by labor. Good? Now, so if the output is 10 and the labor input measured by dollars is say $10, then it's $1 per unit of output. And maybe everybody strives to improve labor productivity. You understand? So if the same 10 could now do 20.
Yeah.
It's two units output for $1 now. Then you go and you add
more
40 thousand people into this institution, organization, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But first of all, it has an impact on output. Not more, because you're talking here a large number of untrained, unspecialized, whatever people. So they're not going to add to output. In fact, economists will call the marginal productivity labor zero. You add them into,
and the marginal is every additional. With every additional person you add, how much extra production do you get from them? And it's going to be zero because they're not adding anything. They're actually adding a cost, because in order to house them and upkeep them, it's actually adding a cost. So even what you had before now, if you were to look at the ratio, it's going to be.
And they're also adding a negative cost, because the supervisor who was there now got to turn around to supervise these extra people, and it's harder on him or her because these people aren't trained.
Somebody else told
So meanwhile, they're not managing the very people who they're supposed to manage. It breeds enmity, because those who are here and already got the grievances. Look at these companies here working for less hours and more money. And so their productivity fall right away too.
And Mr. Jordan, let me come there on the grievances, because I heard another case like that. It's the last day of school and another 30 people come. What do you do with 30 people coming to school on the last day as trained teachers, as trainee teachers? What do you do with 30 on the last day of school? You said, you're trying to now get up your little register and do a little notes a lesson and whatever it is teachers do the last day of school. And soon as they lift up your head, it's people watching you. You don't know what to do with it.
I cannot understand the contradiction. You gave out 4,800, almost 5,000 work permits. And I understand it's far more than that number, because, but you gave out your official numbers, nearly 5,000. And yet you have this large number of unemployed in Guyana. And you're giving out work permits too also. To security guards and gardeners. Work permits have been given out to security guards and gardeners. Can you imagine? You understand? So I don't understand the contradictions that we have. Large numbers of unemployed to the extent that you have to give them free money, because I call it free money. They're not doing anything of productive. Large numbers of them, and you claim too that this is no longer a temporary emergency program. This is now becoming a permanent program. A permanent program. But yet you have all these people who are you are giving work permits to for simple jobs like security guard and gardeners. Nursing assistants. We got nurses leaving this country in droves. And people who would have trained long ago at government's expense and so forth, taxpayers' expense, and you're allowing them to leave, allowing in the sense that you're not addressing the nuts and bolts issues that affect them. I mean, we tried in our last year in 2019, when we put roughly $900 and something million into the health sector in relation to improving human resources, dramatic increases in many of the allowances. Some allowances went up by thousands of percent in 2019. But that was just at the beginning, and of course, we didn't have much money.
Correct. I was coming here. We didn't have the oil and
showed where we were going in terms of human resources.
I think that is a point that we have to hammer home every time we speak about the state of the economy, about the state of our people, because it cannot be lost on Guyanese that the AP and UFC manage the economy in such a manner
with limited resources.
Raises and increases in salary every year.
Increases in salary. I mean, you saw, I think, over that period, the emergence of the middle class once again. And you saw working class people being able to make ends meet, being able to pay their mortgages, being able to live comfortable lives without having all money. Now that you have it, there seems to be a concerted effort to once again crush the middle class, create a society of the stark have and have not, and just create dependence. And it's a problem, because I often ask myself, when are we going to start taking the hard lessons of history seriously? We were at this same juncture with Gaisuku and the Skeldon Sugar Factory.
Well, accountability is big when it comes to the fact that we didn't have a lot of money. I think you can't miss the point at all. And one of the things that we have to compare is what the PPP demanded back then as opposed to what they're giving right now. Mind you, they demand, and one of the examples I love to use is 2016. 2016, during the budget debate, the PPP representatives stood in the National Assembly. That budget was 230 billion in 2016. They stood and they said 50% increase for public servants, 230 billion. 2022 budget 552.9 billion, more than double the 2016.
Right.
Where's the 50% increase
Right.
for the public servant? Mr. Jordan, come on,
China,
right?
China. Why that's happening in China first? While that's happening in China, in Jamaica, they have independence celebration coming up. Their independence on the 6th. Yes. And this piqued your interest. This 300 drums. So here, 300 drums beating at the same time. It's going to be something spectacular. I wish I could go, but I need to be here with you guys.
Yeah. No, my wife is Jamaican, and so she's celebrating their 60th.
Yes,
independence, and it's a fantastic culture. I don't know if you've been.
No, I've never been to Jamaica yet.
On behalf of my wife, I invite you to Jamaica.
I accept.
Fantastic country. Love the people. Love the culture and so
amazing.
on. And I'll tell you one thing, and I hope to drive home this message and next week at the thing we're going to go into. Whatever, no matter whatever, you have to maintain unity, and we struggle in Guyana to maintain that unity. In fact, I think we are struggling with identity.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Identity.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We adopt every other.
It's really, 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 really sad. 50-something plus years independence, 50 years plus republic, and we're struggling to figure out what is the Guyanese identity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look at the entertainers, and I have I love, I always say, entertainers, everybody have their place in society and all of that. But I have a difficulty when you hear entertainers, promoting things that have absolutely nothing to do with us. The accent and everything
changed. The country, under the culture.
They are very key influencers, social influencers, and we have to you have to understand why the people behave, especially young people, because they're listening to a certain set of people and they're guiding them down a specific path. And if they themselves don't have any unique identity to this is what a Guyanese entertainer is going to bring to the table.
But you see, this I think is perhaps the core of our issue, because you look at the Jamaicans; they are so proud of their identity.
Yes.
Anywhere you go in the world, a Jamaican is a Jamaican is Jamaican. They let you know that they are Jamaican.
Yeah.
We suffered an identity crisis for the 23 years that the PPPC was in office. That's 2 generations almost of young people who grew up not appreciating what it meant to be Guyanese. And this is why when I hear songs like that youngster did about Moko Moko, I feel good, because it's good to see local artists embracing our local Creolese dialect and putting it to music. That is very, very important, because unless we can figure out who we are as a Guyanese, who we are as a Guyanese people, we are in trouble. My sons were asking me when I was getting ready for emancipation and so on. They know about the small islands. So they're like, Mommy, but they have a national fabric. Do we have a national fabric? Those types of things. There was never an effort to support a Guyanese identity. That comes through culture.
Yeah.
And they are chronically on the finance. Anything to do with culture.
That is true, and that's why I had an issue again. I say, I understand promoters and whatever, but I have an issue when we promote things like Carnival here.
I keep saying it,
and I have never seen Trinidad promote Mashramani.
Interesting.
Never once. But we struggling crop over. We serious? We serious?
And Juve. It appears as though, as you know, the Baptists, we've blown with every wind of doctrine. For me, the crowning was that the promoters of a boat cruise on Emancipation Day just completely missed the boat, for want of a better word. That symbolism couldn't be lost on the fact that your ancestors came over crammed in ships and you're having a cruise on Emancipation Day. If that does not say that we are in danger of losing our identity, I don't know what else is. You know, and it's.
But also we put so many spokes into the whole system. Over the last week, they're celebrating emancipation. I mean, in fact, I think August should be an emancipation month as opposed to one day, you know, because after the fancy clothes and so on, it looked like we gone back to you know, square one, as we would say. We put so many, over the last couple of days, every act that came to this country was a Jamaican act or a Trinidad act. You know, when you combine our friends at 94.1 and government and everything else, even ACDO, Capleton was the headline act in the Guyana Emancipation Celebration. We didn't have anybody of Guyanese stature that we could have put as a headline in the Guyana.
We need to celebrate our own.
I'm not saying you couldn't bring Capleton. I'm not saying you couldn't bring the 15 queens and kings from wherever else they come from and so on. But they must be subordinate to us. This is our culture, our event. Why are they being, you know, and then you're bringing on our acts as the little...
We got...
the warm-up.
We have all of these guys that we do not spend enough. You see the and you know this, Doc. Jamaica, Trinidad, and those countries that have that rich cultural heritage, they spend money behind the performing arts. They fund their people. That should be, and this is why I expected to hear in this budget, with all of this oil money that we have, more intensive programs to harness our talent. Culture is the way that you build a culture.
But we do know what we had to speak about. We had to deal with the culture center, the fees being increased, and the fees. You see where we're going.
So while we're on the church of drums, we're still in the region. I want to tell you attention what's happening with Liat, because we've been tracking this since the whole dust up with Gaston Brown and Mayor Motley and Gonzalez over Liat, and they're now moving to liquidate Liat. While saying they want to bring in a foreign firm to see, you know, what can be salvaged and so on. But it looks as though we're going to lose Liat.
You may lose the planes, but the whole concept of what Liat represents will still be around. In fact, I think you have Inter-Caribbean, whatever it is. And you had many of them came and many of them went. It is not easy to operate an airline.
Absolutely.
I mean, our one plane airline, I think at one time we had two, but for most time we had one plane airline. It was a struggle. Was a struggle. I could tell you, I traveled a lot of time on Ghana Airways during the 80s. And you could be left in New York at JFK because you have no money back in those days. You know, you didn't get too much of foreign exchange. So when you turn up at JFK to the Ghana Airways counter, when they're supposed to be checking in, the place is dead. There's nobody there. Lots of people waiting to be checked in. Nobody there to tell you anything. So you could end up sleeping in JFK 2-3 days. Because, and then when somebody tells you something, the plane gone for C check, D check, E check, F check. When they don't come back, they don't know.
I think he's absolutely right. As somebody who worked in the sector, it's not easy, and airlines generally do not even turn a profit in the first 10 years of operation, in the first 5 to 10 years. So it's not easy, but I think my own view is that if, as a region, we put our minds collectively to solving this issue, it can be solved.
Correct.
The level of CARICOM, more has to be done to address the regional transportation issue, particularly for the small islands. That is their way of moving, and so you have to have some kind of system.
I know Raul was one that spoke about it when he was here for that agriculture expo. Here, because he was basically saying, you know, a lot of talk about where you want to go 25 by 25 But and it's crazy, you know. He was saying that yes, you're saying all of these things, but what are the systems? You know, what are the systems being put in place when it comes to breaking down trade barriers and all of those things? What is the systems being put in?
Yeah.
And he specifically spoke about transportation.
Lots of them say, and it's cheaper to bring things from Miami here than this to go next door.
An indictment.
It's cheaper to go to Trinidad than to go to Kaitro Falls.
An indictment. So that has to stop. Now, these are the things, because air transport it's one of the few sectors that have a multiplier effect of about 4 times. So if you harness air transport properly, it is a catalyst for serious economic development.
Yes.
But we have not been able to do that.
And that is why they say the quickest way for a billionaire to become a millionaire is to buy airline.
But Amanda, I think we got lots of water, all right, that we have been able to manage long before we could have managed air.
Correct.
Let's be not talking water. I mean, look those islands.
Yeah.
Why is there need to have all these little small planes hopping and dropping? They're very, very expensive.
And not a fast
Why can't you
ferry.
have a nice luxury ferry?
Absolutely.
They have. I was in Hong Kong a couple of years ago. I landed in Hong Kong, and then they had to take us to mainland China in a fantastic boat, or whatever you want to call it. Lovely seats like airplane seats and so on. Service, bar, service, everything. But it will take, I don't know, maybe 200, 300, 400 people. You need a jumbo to take those kinds of people. Right? Yeah. And no jumbo is going to hop down and then hop down in Antigua, then hop over to Grenada or so on.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk more about our rivers as opposed to the air?
That's what we're speaking about.
Caribbean Sea. You're absolutely correct. And even Guyana, becoming the breadbasket, as it were, of the Caribbean, looking at the system of fast ferries from here to move up the chain of islands. It is an indictment that people can move produce from Miami to here.
Easier.
Now, you see, when you talk about these issues again, this is why forums such as these are important, because our people have to understand that there is so much more to development than running around sharing out money. That is basic. That is like nursery school type development issues that you're talking about.
In fact, running around sharing money is under development, not development. Who in this big day and age not even in Pakistan, do they run around with bags of money sharing? And those Middle East countries, many of them are known for money transactions, but they have moved on. Lots of these places now is just app, just
very
phone,
much so.
just phone. You put a phone to the register and it takes
Google
off
Pay.
the money and so on. You run around here with bags of
Yeah.
money and some guy with a big gun and so on. It's crazy. It's backward.
And
It represents everything that is backward in a society.
You see that is governance. And while we're on that and we are sailing closer to home and we're landing at either Chedijagan or Eugene Correa, this is another thing we focus on, which takes us right up that alley. This is what they're touting. We also redefined Prince. Region 2 part-time workers received their first cash payment. Linden said they've been working for 2 months. They didn't get a pay yet, too. Right?
Well, you guys debated that in Parliament the other day. Even with permanent workers.
And note, you got to line up. You got to line up. We're just talking about the ease of payment. And that is one of the things we've said is a consistent missed opportunity during this pandemic. They could have been pushing for plastic, more use of plastic.
Absolutely.
Get a bank account, something, and we can transfer.
The same way those people have to get it NIS, or I'm hoping that they got NIS. The same way they had to get NIS and TIN numbers before they turn on to the job. In the same way you could tell them, look, you go open an account at the bank, or something. And and as we speak about the bank, I'm hoping that the government will stop the disintermediation that is taking place in these banks when it comes to open a simple savings account as a Guyanese citizen.
It's almost as though they're forcing people to go put their money under the mattress or something.
Disintermediation,
right now.
as we will call it. We want intermediation, not disintermediation. It's the hoops that you got to go through to open an account and the questions that are being asked. I don't even know I spoke to Governor a while back on this matter. I hope he takes it up. We have to make the matter easy for people to open an account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have to have in place the regulations to monitor what is going into the account.
Correct.
But don't stop dying knees to all of these hoops.
Yeah.
I see people become so frustrated. They don't want anything to do.
Yeah.
With a,
And then
you actually have to set up an appointment.
You
I
face
spoke
the
to
kind of
somebody
system.
only 2 days ago that says no, they're not going to go and deal
You
with
face
that.
the kind of
It's so
system,
stressful.
and then you watch a documentary with men saying, "Oh, you want money here? We can move it for you." You go in one country, put it there. You go in the bank, you put it through there.
No, but Sharon is correct. This is George Sharon. We know that he's correct because once you make the system so rigid and so difficult for ordinary people, they're going to go to those persons.
Yes.
They're going to go and somebody say, guys, come on, you live in Georgia, you live in Guyana, you know these people. I know several of them, so you got to know them too, right? You just go and the business place collect your money here. Once they have an outpost here, you drop it off there and somebody collect it at the other end. And that's the way in which it's happening because of the difficulty in these. And it's so easy when it comes to the bank, it's easier to track, easier to monitor, and all of those things. But just getting in the door seems to be, a fight.
So essentially, it is almost as if you do not want it to be caught in the system where you are able to track and monitor it.
And this is the other one. We're following that we find interesting as well. They say, they're disbursing. Dispersing some monies across Region 6 now. I think this is in keeping with the children, the schools cash grant. And they're hoping again, they always actually say it's going to help to stimulate the economy. And this, you're talking about the 9th MMF something for some IMF funding for some country. IMF, what do you call it?
For countries like Kenya.
Yeah, this is like the 50th cash grant and so on. They're supposed to stimulate the economy. But people are still crying out.
It's very sad that we're at the point where when you look at these issues and you assess it critically, people say, oh, you're always criticizing. It's not about that. I think we have stated very clearly how it is that we say to people, go and collect your money. It's taxpayers' money. Go and collect it.
I have urged
persons. As government, however, what systems do they have to be able to?
I'm gonna hear you on your
mic.
What
system do they have?
Just want to make sure you don't talk about your secrets on here.
No secrets.
To make sure that they are being put for the purpose that they are intended. These are grants for the children education. How is it that you are ensuring that it goes for that purpose? This is why you notice social relief measures in other countries are trackable.
No, I want to stop you right there. Listen to me. I want to stop you right there. I've noted right now there's a lot of talk about the cash grant and persons, persons within the ministry and within government said use the cash grant, make sure you use it for the children's education. However, there is an issue because last year when the cash grant was distributed, none other than the Minister of Education said, we're not directing how you spend this money. You can build an extra room in the house.
Can you imagine?
If you want. Listen, so
wow.
It is absolutely crazy to even pretend now.
Interesting. Interesting.
You remember this, guys. I'm not making this up. I can't make this up.
But you in these circumstances, you have to see with also the recipients of it if they don't spend it on the school uniform. I mean, you have to be able to put a uniform on a body, on a living body. And therefore, if they are struggling to stay alive, and stay alive,
where the money's gonna go.
Then that is where the money will go, and we can't. We can't fault them.
And that brings into the bigger question of allowing Guyanese to have an income that they can actually live off of instead of these stopgap measures. There needs to be, public servants need to have a proper increase.
Let me tell you what happened with the 30,000. Just for folks that don't know, and I speak about it for the ordinary Guyanese, the working class, the persons just above the poverty line, people that's living under the poverty line, and all of those people that falls within the category of the most vulnerable in society. Right. And let me tell you, the minute the announcement was made that the cash grant is going to be, the distribution is going to start on the 2nd of August, at that moment, the cash grant was spent, right? Absolutely. So it had to go.
Absolutely.
So there's a large section of the society that received the money to go pay it back to somebody else because they had to spend it in anticipation of getting it because they are in a struggle. Because the poor people, the most vulnerable in society, they spend their salary before they get their salary.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's what that went into.
So while that's happening on that front, this is what we're tracking on this front. This is an issue that they haven't been able to solve. They told the fishermen early in the year they can get the licenses from Suriname for them. They're striking this deal with the Surinamese with the use of the quarantine river and so on, and they can get these licenses. To date, the Surinamese have not released these licenses to the fishermen. And so what the Surinamese do, even though they're not interested in fishing, they go and buy the license and rent them to the Guyanese for $3,000 US, $4,000 US. So in this particular case with this vessel here, the Surinamese says was a fake license this gentleman had. Well, if you're selling it for 4,000, 5,000 US, you might get 1, 2 fake ones in the midst there.
No, but my concern with that kind of behavior of the Surinamese is we put ourselves in this kind of subservient position, really. Do the fishermen have to fish in Suriname waters? If they do, then let us have some agreement, between states that can be implemented and that can be overseen by international organizations or so on. Don't in this kind of beg and thy neighbor approach. Suriname has used this approach for ages, and we seem always to be supplicant and pliant.
But if and if you have this whole kind of bromance with
the Guyanese and as a nationalist, I abhor the treatment that is meted out to our citizens in this manner, in this particular manner. Let us get this matter solved once and for all. If you don't want us to fish, fine. We are not going to fish in your waters. We're going to find waters here. Or we're going to do something with these fisher folks. You can't be a member of CARICOM. You can't be a neighbor of this kind and behaving in this manner. And you can't make agreements because Ali said there was in principle agreement with Santoki.
Yeah, correct.
When he goes home, he gets licks. And he can't
move it forward.
As a president, move this matter forward. We cannot continue to put ourselves in this kind of position.
We warn, Minister, that this allowing Suriname to license operations in the quarantine river, it has implications for our sovereignty.
Of course.
But this goes back to the transactional nature of our diplomacy that we talk about all the time. David Granger warned Irfan Ali, do not take this thing at face value. It is deeper than you think. And we're seeing now that he was correct because, as Minister said, Santoki cannot deliver on this promise. And it is the PPP who has a significant constituency in those fisher folk. I'm from the quarantine, I know. And so you see them being unable to deliver, and the lives and livelihood of Guyanese are now being adversely affected. This does not require rocket science. Throughout the maritime world and history, you have neighboring countries that have conflicting interests that have been able to come to the table and facilitate some type of settlement. Why are Guyanese being treated?
You think Todd going to be part of that process? To bring us to the table and negotiate that kind of stuff? And while that's happening, folks, I'm kind of hastening on the discussion. We're seeing this, and I thought this represented so much of the lack of good infrastructural work that we're seeing now. I mean, if you take a ride up the East Coast, the embankment, it's been a patchwork for a little bit, but it's really falling to pieces, and it really takes a lot of traffic off of the main road, which it needs to. And that road there is really falling apart. This is Upakari area here, and one of the roads here is almost washed away. What are these guys doing with all of this money? That is the challenge. It's not to ask what did APNU AFC do, right? With the limited resources we had then, we have it all now. You see, they take out 40 billion out of the National Resource Fund. They come back for another 40 billion. They take out. They come to the National Assembly for 40 billion. You just articulated the 2022 budget, 550 something million. And every billions, and all of the billions in the budgets, biggest budgets before that. What are they doing with the money? That's the thing that's
we're just a few billion short of 600 billion for this year,
Yeah.
Yeah, persons need to understand that. I think it's going to go around 596
overall.
When you're actually adding in the supplemental that you're coming for. So I think it's about there now.
We need to be quite honest. I don't think the population is seized with the understanding that we have huge money coming, and that we really and truly need a national approach to the management of these resources.
Absolutely.
Notwithstanding who wins election and so on. We need a national commission or whatever that will stand the test of time irrespective of who wins an election, and be responsible for managing those resources, including their implementation. Because otherwise you're going to see many more of what you saw just now. How can you be building? I keep saying, I probably said it last time I was there too. How can you be building the kind of roads that we are building right now? How? These roads aren't even built for the future, even though you have money. Okay, take your time now and build international standard road for the future, because now you have 64 wheelers. Who knows? They may have 100 wheeler. Coming, and what you're going to do? Dig up the road or throw some more tar on it? Look at the Linden Highway. Not cutting you want to go home to you, Linden. It stood the test of time because it was a highway built for the future. This highway was built in the late 60s.
And still there,
and stood the test of time. Look at those trucks that bring out the lumber from and have gone on that highway with very little maintenance.
Things used to be done properly. We have the bridge, the Denver Harbor Bridge there as another example of the way in which things were done,
It was significant.
If there's something from the 1 week trip of last week, I'm happy that they signed something, even if it's the MOU with the Exim Bank. Hopefully now American type businesses are going to see their way and come into here and help us build some decent, proper, lasting.
Mr. Jordan just throw it in there. Sharon to the biggest issue. Hold on.
Which is right on what Mr. Jordan is talking about, because from that trip, what we heard is about shared prosperity, shared growth, right? Ali came back and would have us to believe, who heard and saw that we saw, that, we didn't really get reprimand. We know what you are talking about. Right, and went after his critics. Only when he come home, went after Jeffries, Senator, Congressman Akim Jeffries there in the U.S. But lots of what we heard is about shared prosperity, shared growth, deepen your transparency processes. We need to see more of that. And he will have us to believe, no, it was just a kumbaya with the U.S. They invited us because they think that we are the best and brightest in the region.
Interesting.
Over to you, sir.
Well.
Could we start from the position, Mr. Jordan, if you may?
Yes.
Could we start from the position? Because I know a lot of folks out there, there was a lot of talk on social media about the MOU to the tune of $2 billion US. And there were people out there, some of the trolls and all of those that actually believe that these people were coming back with $2 billion. They're so used to money being put in on them. They believe that the Ali administration went to the US and came back with $2 billion US to spend in the country, And I tried to disabuse them of that.
I think no matter, you can spend how much you want. This is not a society anymore where you have snail mail being the main means of communication, instantaneous communication, Google and all these kind of things. You could go there and you see what is a MOU. Really, it's an understanding reach between states or parties or so on, with some principles outlined.
Conditionalities.
Okay? Well, they don't even bother the conditionalities yet. You still have to approach Exim Bank. And Exim Bank has all their rules, regulations, lending criteria, all those. Those don't come into the
MOU.
The MOU is a principle. Look, we are prepared to set aside or $2 billion for lending. Remember, Exim Bank is to promote American jobs. That's the first thing you will see if you go Google Exim Bank USA. It's to promote American jobs and American interests and business. Okay? So even if they want to lend some money to the government of Guyana, of course, it's American contractors who have to be engaged and so on and so forth. Okay? The MOU doesn't say, well, look, we like you, Guyana, and therefore we are going to give you a lesser interest rate and so on. No, all those principles remain the same thing. The same thing. Good. So Guyana didn't come away with any $2 billion. I think what we come away with is that Exim Bank is prepared to come back into the market, the Guyana market.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And for me, that's important. Like I said, I need, a cross-section of particularly Western technology to come to Guyana. I mean, we're tired now of what we have had over the last 25 plus years, and this haven't, most of it hasn't stood the test of time at all. And you end up paying back huge sums of taxpayers' money for little or zero benefit from these. And while we are at it, one of the better roads built by the Chinese or better technology is the East Coast Road. But if Mr. Edgell is listening, I think he should traverse the road and do the maintenance, in-time maintenance, because the road is deteriorating. The parts that were burnt in the flare-up that we had, those need to be redone because they start deteriorating, especially in the bridges are becoming uneven and they're thing.
All of the bridges.
They're allowing on parts of the road tractors and all kinds of storage to go on the road, and it's breaking up the road. They're doing nothing about it.
I've seen that on the west.
That would cost 50 million US or something under, because it's 50 million was set aside, but something under 50 million. And we are going to wait for that main thoroughfare to deteriorate, even as you're thinking about widening the other thoroughfare before we do the repairs.
Well,
this is the point I'm making. We've gone there, torn sod, cut ribbon, this, that, and we think we move on. The maintenance budget is zero.
That's what we're good at, cutting ribbons and so on. Because if we come to the East Bank now, it's another story, because it's the first country in the world open the road that's still finishing. Half the road finished, and when you go to the other half, you can't pass. It's muddy. All kinds of stuff. You got to go through a street.
Come back to the Exim Bank. If can't go 10 more run up and catch you. Not to me, but to you. But come back to the Exim Bank. Like I said, it's good that they are able to get this MOU for the $2 billion. Some people say it's for Guyana. Some people say it's for the region. I wish they will have some press conference and say exactly what it is all about, whether it's for the region or whether it's for Guyana.
Public. Come on.
Then I think they need to explain to the public, particularly the private sector, how they may be able to access this money. Because very often the private sector like to go out there and holler how I think they had their meeting at Ramada Inn a couple of weeks ago, and there's big noise about access to financing. What on earth they mean by cheap financing? Private sector is about risk. Private sector is about risk, and you look for the most available financing. How many businesses in this country wants to go public? Everybody wants to hold on to this little thing. My business, I started up on it. We're not moving on. Our stock exchange is lifeless. It has those critical mass of people who have been there, but 2 years
you could go check it out. It's online.
It's not there. It's not there. So I would like to see many sources of financing for the private sector, but government, and maybe we'll come back and come back and talk about this natural resource fund. Because I read a letter yesterday, an article by some Dr. Hines or something from the UE. He was talking about, he had a really good article, but these guys, they get suffocated by the propaganda. How the NRF 2021 was better than the APNU's thing. Now, this guy obviously doesn't know anything about Guyana. He doesn't know anything about Guyana, I'm sure about it. But he's a professor or some lecturer at UWE. And as I said, he made some excellent points. But when he came to NRF, I would love him to call me and let him tell me, article per article,
right,
where is the NRF 2020 superior to the NRF 2019? All the things we were saying and all the things you guys wanted to say on that fateful night are coming to pass.
Every single last
As a matter of fact, the board looks non-existent. They've just fallen into obscurity. You don't hear from them. You don't see them.
Has the board ever met?
Well, that's it. That's it.
Has the board ever met?
Obscurity.
Look, I probably would have said it when I was here the last time.
Two withdrawals.
Director, bear with me, man. Bear with me. What is this board supposed to do? I tell you, when you go there, the functions of the board are irrelevant to the management of the NRF.
Yep.
It's
They don't
there in the
direct
law.
anything. They direct
It's
nothing.
there in the law. And in fact, the reason why you don't even hear anything about the civic society portion of those people is because they are even more irrelevant. They cannot do anything other than receive reports from time to time from the board. And what are they to do with these reports? It is not spelled out there. So that is why there is no urgency to convene any board meeting or to even compose the civic society. You see it. These people are withdrawing our money, 80 billion plus already, and we don't know
where it is going.
Projects of national interest, you see.
Beyond some foolishness is saying, come to the National Assembly. I'm pleased to indicate, as per 2020 NRF, that we have withdrawn 80 billion and transparency.
And when you ask about
the same part of withdrawing and putting in consultant, the entire part that is in the NRF 2020 was stolen from NRF 2019. So they're giving people out there the impression that they have enhanced transparency by moving the money from the NRF to the consultant. And they stole the entire article from the NRF 2019.
But one of the important features that stood out to me for the 2019 NRF was the fact that you had to identify the urgent developmental priorities, and then you bring it to the National Assembly for it to be debated, for it to be looked at before a project could be opened.
But how are the people going to thief the money if you do it like that?
While we're talking about all this money, Mr. Jordan, I want to get your impression of what the IMF, I think, has been telling us about the dependence on the oil resources alone can expose our economy to volatile oil prices. They say that these have been known to dip and to skyrocket, disrupting revenue projections and actual revenues. Ramping up investment could potentially add inflationary pressures within the local economy. This is the IMF telling us in June of this year. Local authorities must strengthen the capacity to manage public investment. We hear about a lot of spending, but what are the concomitant risks we take? All this will we pump it.
Trust me, it grieves me gravely that we have to be called up to say United States, given a tongue lashing, because that is what it is, a diplomatic thing and so on. A tongue lashing for being errant, okay, and then come back. Whereas our own people were talking about inclusion, transparency, and accountability. It grieves me that I was speaking about this in 2020, post-August, 2021. Go back and you see all different programs, letters, everything I wrote about this ramping up of expenditure, the impact it's going to have on the economy, and all these kinds of things. I spoke of it several times. Kaito News, I think, picked it up, one of the journalists picked it up and talked about it. Go back to the articles I was going back to, these articles I saw. But now we make IMF as this big soothsayer, right? So everybody is talking about the IMF advice. When a former finance minister is giving this advice free, and they don't want to take it.
Absolutely.
And they don't want to take it.
You have to appreciate the problem that we have in this context, because, and it almost forces us to have to rely on these sources, because the sad part is that a certain sector or segment of society, they're not willing to
This is naysayers.
They're not willing to accept it once it doesn't come.
But started saying that, but you can imagine even when, and I've said it on this program before, you know, sometimes I go out and I say something, I say it over and over again, but oh, you know, Joretta, you know, she knew, she young, and she, you know, they gotta wait till somebody else to say it.
And because Joretta is young and so on, this is what Kaicho News told us recently, that the World Bank was saying, again, highlighting some parts of this, the Exxon contract, that they're not in favor with, saying that the whole arrangement, as a matter of fact, saying that it should be based on safety, the environment, concerns, and inadequate payment. The report found that the country's rating had slipped from moderately satisfactory to moderately unsatisfactory under the current regime that we have. So a lot of pushback from a lot of institutions. That's the point I'm pointing out here. Well, it's everything is nice and good, and Freddie the other day once said, you know,
solid 2 years.
Solid 2 years. Solid 2 years.
I, you know, again, as I said, that loan was signed by me in March 29th, I think it was, or 30th, 2019. The urgency of that loan was impressed upon the World Bank, notwithstanding the fact that the no confidence motion took place in December, because they started to backpedal. As soon as no confidence motion came, you know the usual story that happened, all your sources of finance and everything going to dry up and so on. They started to backpedal, and I started to bring out the wild cane. Eventually, they decided to give the loan. $20 million, cheap loan, virtually zero interest rate, and so on. And we moved, because the implementation was with the Department of Energy. And we moved post haste to get that money. The loan was effective within, I think, 1.5 months, which means you could now start spending and so on. And a number of people and activities were brought in. And I believe the market, the market company that did the pre-audit of the thing, I think they were brought under the same loan, the same loan. Okay, but this loan was important for us to bring the specialists to help draft the bills and to put in the institutional regulatory and systems that put in place. You may be seeing me talking every so often now, Kaicho News carrying some of the articles about the need to get these things going. But you know what I read in Yahoo News last week on reporting on the Texas meeting that they went to, I think earlier this year. Barrett, as in Barrett, the energy minister, is reporting as saying in there that the need to get new legislation in place to replace the 2016 legislation on which the PSA was signed is no longer urgent. Well, I was hoping that Yahoo News was quoting them, but I will send you the.
Thank you, because they don't say these things locally.
But I'm flabbergasted.
Because he also said they would have renegotiated the PSA.
Was not a campaign promise.
Yeah, they would renegotiate. Right.
So you have these issues. Like I said, we need this national, not only conversation, but some national commission or something that will oversee all these matters, because we can't, those who are not at the seat of power can't continue to hold on here. And when they get in, they have to clean up the mess. Like we did.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time doing that too. A lot of time
cleaning up the mess and not being able to do your own program. This is a national resource. It's not bauxite. It is not sugar. It is not rice, gold, or whatever. This is unheard of monies. And if we are able to have a national approach to it, it will ease the tension. It will bring forward confidence and so forth. And we will be able to have a happier society than the one that is trending right now.
And you know what, Minister, the question we got to ask ourselves very soon is whether the audit office can take off some of this work that's coming. Because now the general got to go after us too. I saw Christopher Ram saying that the audit office is positioned to investigate all of those things.
Chris is saying it from the standpoint that he's an accountant and he knows a lot about auditing and so forth. But in terms of institution, I do not believe the audit office is equipped to engage in such. The last auditor that we had that perhaps might have attempted it, because the auditor does not need anybody's permission to conduct an audit.
Correct.
Does not need anybody's permission. He's highly independent. They can't get rid of him. under the Constitution, unless for
security tenure,
those acts of malfeasance or whatever the case may be, right? The last one would have been Gulsaran. But even he, under tremendous pressure, had to go along the way when they.
And he too has called for an investigation of these claims by news.
The audit office, the thing is about the audit office is that we have, because I sit at the level of the PAC, and because of that, you have to deal with the audit office every single week, basically. And one of the things, you're speaking about the audit office now, and I have to go back to the fact that we were speaking about cash grants a little early on. And I noted that the education minister is purporting that in order to have transparency and accountability, and so they have audit office representative at various locations. And Mr. Jordan, sitting right here, it is impossible. It is absolutely impossible for the audit office to send representatives throughout this country to go, and they don't even have the capacity to send them in Region 4 alone.
Right.
So let's touch on a couple of things as we talk about this solid 2 years of the PVP. I want to get Mr. Jordan's impression on before we let him go. We saw this quite recently, and this actually came out, the trafficking in persons report, before the trip to the US. And while they were there, the FBI was here telling them about this trafficking in persons. We want to see convictions. We want to see you going after, and they didn't have a very good report for us at all where trafficking in persons is concerned. They said, while the note exists, they don't see a lot of emphasis being placed on convictions. And we know that under the APNU AFC, we did well. We got to tier 1. We're concerned prosecuting persons, trafficking in persons, going after them and kind of restoring the victims back to a sense of normalcy and reintegrating them back into.
There's a big difference between commitment to proper governance, right? And the kind of approach that you see today. Like I said, it has its downside because, as you know, coalition government always being whipped for not doing this, not doing that, and so on. But I don't know that people remember that it's a mere 3.5 years that we were there. We were playing in this like our head in good. But as again says, when they put it against the metrics, they don't ever do that. They don't put out the metrics there and say, well, look, we saying that the coalition didn't do well because this is the metric, this is what it is. This is the metric compared to our own. Nobody wants to do that. But everybody runs. Even people who you might have had respect for, they now being caught up with the monies or the dole-outs that they're getting and so on. And so they either say nothing, or if they have something to say, it's very guarded. It's very couched, or it has a lamentation about what the coalition didn't do, or so on. You think that you're talking about a government that was in there for 23 years, as opposed to 3.5 years.
And as we talk about 3.5 years, let's talk about this, because we saw this, solid 2 years, according to our friend Freddie, but we seem to have dropped a couple places in the corruption perception index.
Well, we're going to drop a lot more with the next one.
These are the challenges that we have. These are the challenges that we have.
No, and I say, I see that recently say they put together the Public Procurement Commission. But to be quite honest, the commission has been there now, well, in terms of when it started now, maybe about 4 or 5 years. And I don't know, in terms of what the Constitution might have intended, whether the Public Procurement Commission is really performing that task. In Jamaica, I think they have a Public Procurement Commission and a Contractors General. And when you look and see the work that those two bodies do, and their reports, that they put out, maybe we can take a leaf. But I don't know whether we are always interested in setting up the institution and then put it abroad that yes, we got a Public Procurement Commission, yes, we got an Integrity Commission,
you check the boxes.
We got a this, we got a human rights, we got a this, we
you
got
check
that.
the boxes.
But what are these people doing, and how have they made a difference to the society? I saw sorry for talking too much, but I saw what's his name? Arnold, the lawyer. Ramkaran talking about the committees of parliament that can achieve some of the work that I think Norton was asking for or so on.
Mm-hmm.
Great suggestion. Nobody is saying. And of course, Ramkuran has an interest in it because he was part, I think he was chairman of the Constitutional Reform Commission 2000 or whatever it is. But is Mr. Ramkuran serious?
Yeah.
What has
Yeah.
any of these committees of Parliament ever achieved? What?
Yeah.
And particularly because the numbers are always skewed in a particular direction.
Yes, and the report.
No, but what is
I
interesting?
always
What is
tell people
interesting that Ramkuran has a man in Parliament through the joiner list,
He's a journalist,
which is
yes.
Schumann,
Yes.
who don't raise these issues in Parliament.
You know, I mean, Natural Resource Committee, Economic Commission. When last the Economic Committee meet?
I can answer that right away. I'm a member of the Economic Service Committee. The Economic Service Committee met every single time it had to meet when there was the chairman was held by the coalition, right? And that was Sherwin Holder. It so happens that the Economic Service Committee now, by principle, they have a rotation.
Right.
So at the end of the first year, the coalition had the chairmanship, and then from that point on, you have to have a PPP representative. That representative, I think, is identified to be Miss Edgel. Edgel. We haven't met since the last meeting, since that year would have ended.
Wow.
With the APN ALC chair in that committee. Since the PPP is the chair, we haven't met yet.
But I am about when the meet. So I'm worried about when the meet. What is content? The Economic Service Committee, for example, I'm picking on that because I know a lot of people, should be able, for example, to be requesting meetings to discuss the cost of living, requiring data, requiring models, requiring information, and wherever these got to come from, requesting or demanding the appearance of the budget director, of the finance secretary to come there with adequate notice, of course, with the information, with the staff and everything.
Absolutely.
And you go through. And then you put up a report within 6 weeks or whatever.
Relevant now more than ever.
You have to make a difference. These committees, you look at the United States, look at their committees, the fantastic work that they do. That is what committee is about. It's not about, okay, we meet, we wait 2 hours and things and so on and so on. And we shouldn't be scrambling to get our man or our woman in charge of the committee. The committee should be as such that, yes, it has that stature.
Correct.
Right? It has that stature that the public out there, right, could have confidence that it will bring, or if somebody off the road writes into you and says, look, they got mining going on in X place, we make it into a wider issue in addition to the investigation, a wider issue about mining, environment, livelihoods, all these different stories, concessions, and all these kind of different stories. But
the reality is that
I am not
people don't have the political will.
I am not sanguine about any one of these things because for me, all they do is add more burdens to the administrative mechanism because their results are not in keeping with the funding that you give to them, albeit the funding being very small in many areas.
Very, very small.
Yeah, because even for, and I'm glad Ms. Jordan mentioned that, because even when it comes to the Economic Service Committee, so a lot of the important points that he's bringing out I am yet to see going in that direction, but people need to understand quite clearly, and there is no pretense coming from the PPP right now. Their attitude when it comes to committee is that they hold the majority when it comes to the amount of members on the committee. So they are going to make sure that they either stymie the work, they either stop the work by themselves, not playing the active role that they should and all of that. Or they're going to make sure that every time they go there and something is requested, they block it because of that majority. And they're not playing any games with it. They are just there to make sure that it doesn't move forward. And that's how I've seen no other example.
And in the process, doing Guyana disservice. I think the World Bank in a 2012 study that they had on governance said Guyana has a crisis of governance. And that crisis is actually rooted in the race problem and the ethnic problem.
Yeah.
And until we overcome that problem, that we will continue to see the features of bad governance rearing its head.
Yeah.
And that is something that we must so guard against. It is so easy for us to reject a good idea because it doesn't come from us.
Which is what happens all the time.
And we throw the baby out with the bad.
Which is what happens all the time.
Recognizing that we're doing our own selves a disservice.
Yeah.
And I always say, guys, I'm at peace with something that we do. We come here and we expose the information. We give the information. You can bring the horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink.
Yeah.
It is for the people of Guyana to decide that they will assimilate this, that they will seek to understand the deeper issues, and they will seek to demand more.
Yeah.
All of the societies that we go to and we celebrate, we love to go to the USA, we look at Jamaica, we look at Trinidad, we look at Suriname next door. And those people decided, you know what? I don't care if you don't look like me. This is about a better life.
Exactly.
And I am demanding that.
Exactly.
And unless Guyanese get to that point, we all get to that point, another 10 years, we're going to be having this same discussion.
We definitely need to get there.
God forbid.
I think more than 10.
God forbid. But this is going to do us for this morning, folks. The border boy has to get on to the full celebrations. It was just been a privilege having you this morning. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
as you sign the birthday celebration.
I was happy to be here, and you come to say blessed because
I definitely come to twice. I come to blessings twice. Come to blessings, and this shirt looks expensive too.
It's a very nice shirt. I picked up in
I
South
love the
Africa.
print.
South Africa when I was there. You know.
Yes.
Wow.
Give
That's
2
nice.
million to our African
Absolutely.
brothers
Yeah.
and sisters.
And I think we have to reflect on our journey even more, because when you reflect on it, it seems as though we're right back there in Latin instances. We're still fighting. We're still fighting to overcome so much, but we shall overcome. We shall overcome. Happy birthday again, sir.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my sisters.
Yep. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Jordan. And thank you for joining us this morning, all of you wonderful folks out there. Make sure that you do what you have to do.
Remember,
make sure everything is done, share, smash, whatever it is that you done on your end. And we will see you later on in the day. Have a good day,
back in the
folks.
podcast. Stay safe, folks.
have a good day.
Stay safe.